Hey guys, what's going on? Today I got an update on the 1995 Buick Regal Demolition Derby car for you guys. So it's been coming along, and we got, today's Monday and the Derby's Thursday, so we got 3 days before the demo. So we're making pretty good progress on this thing. Gas tank is in, not secured down yet. Got to bolt that down. Got the fuel lines ran, had to make some modifications to my existing fuel line. You'll see that my return line, if you guys have seen my return line in the past, is not the same anymore. Since 2 days ago I went to go start up this thing, and sure enough I blew the return hose, and I found out that return hose was extremely dry rotted and just junk after all these years. The fuel pressure line, the high pressure line, is also not in great shape. I mean, it's hard as a rock. So this probably will be its last run, I can tell you that. I think that's about it for that one. But overall, the rest of my fuel line going up front is okay. The only line I worry about now is this line right here. It doesn't really have too much wear in it, but I don't know what kind of shape or how much pressure it's going to be able to hold. Hopefully it just holds up one more derby, and then one or two more derbies, depending on if I run this on Sunday. But hopefully it holds up. It should hold up. But there's a little gash right there, actually. Got to keep an eye on that too. But hopefully it holds up. If it's gonna blow, hopefully it blows before the Derby, not like right before, but you know, before. That's actually all pretty cinched. I might have to replace this before the Derby, actually, now looking at it. I don't know how much I trust it. Anywho's, got the cage in. Obviously, I think you guys saw that last video on this thing. Cage is in. Battery box is now in with battery inside the car. It does run, but the only problem is that when I disconnected the old fuel line, it still, obviously it was spraying gas, obviously, if I didn't unhook the fuel pump. So I went and I pulled the relay for the fuel pump and said, oh, good now. Went to go start it up, started puking out gas everywhere. And I'm like, why is that? Hold on, I gotta put the hood prop up for you guys. There we go. It's just a bent hood strut there, but I started puking gas all over the place. Sure enough, even though you pull the relay for the fuel pump will still run as long as the oil pressure switch is reading oil pressure. It will alternatively give power to the fuel pump in order for it to run, which is very dumb, but I mean, I guess it works, you know. I guess I know it works because it was shooting gas all over, because I had them tied up back here, and it started spraying gas all over the motor while it was just starting up, and I had to shut it right back off because that was not good. But anyways, I got the radiator back in, obviously bumper on the front. A lot has changed in this thing since you guys last saw it. The wiring's been moved over more. Honestly, that's about as good as it's gonna get. These 3800s are not the easiest thing to move the wiring on. I will be the first to admit that. Well, I'm not the first to admit that, probably, but and I probably could have simplified this harness quite a bit. But you know, honestly, guys, this car is pretty rusty. It's just not worth for me to waste the time to, you know, go through every wire, figure out what it is, cut it, or whatever, and shorten it. To me, yes, this is a complete mess. This is disaster of a mess. But honestly, it's solid. It isn't going to go anywhere. You know, it looks nasty, but it's going to work. I don't know if you guys can see down there because of the shadows, but the closest thing to the radiator is my loop kit. And honestly, it's not really that close, and this thing can fold either way, down, up, even somewhat in. So I'm not too worried about that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm only running one fan on this thing, because I just decided that it's not worth it, because the clearance on this engine isn't as much as the 3100, I don't think, and I just didn't want a fan right here, possibly going to chew up all these wires going down to the starter and the oil pressure switch and the oil pressure level sensor. So we only have one fan hooked up here, and unfortunately these fans are pretty wide. So I mean, it's sitting right next to that spark plug boot, so I could lose a cylinder pretty quick if this thing starts to come in. But the coil pack is moved, secured to the firewall. I like where it is. I'm not a huge fan of how the computer wires go through those two spark plug wires, but there's not much I can do about it because it's just where that computer ends up, and I can't seem to move either way. So, and there's not really any room above on top of the intake because there's so much going on in here anyway. So it's gonna have to stay there. Runs just fine the way it is. The noise from the coil pack, you know, through all the electrical is not too much for the computer to be overwhelmed. So I'm just gonna run it the way it is. We do see signs of a possible starter failure coming because it clicks. It's like the solenoid for the starter starting to go out. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. I'm gonna try to either today or tomorrow, I'm gonna start up this thing, put water in it, and let her get hot, shut her back off. Not like, you know, overheating hot, but let her get hot, shut her off, try to start it back up. If it doesn't start back up, then I know that well, if it's a starter failure, then I know I gotta get that starter out of there and put another starter in it, which sucks, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, worst case scenario, guys, if I can't make it to this Thursday Derby, you know, Sunday's always an option. I kept on saying Saturday. I'm not sure why, because August 7th is a Sunday. So either way, August 7th is my other best option, and I think this car really is only going to have one run in it because it's just a rusty car. And I wasn't really looking to get more than one run out of it, honestly. You know, I'd be happy to get one good run out of it, and if I can get, you know, even top 5, even top 3, that'd be good. I mean, it's still a W body, it's still alumina, and even though it's rusty, it's still going to hold up probably pretty okay. So we'll see. I don't know how this 3800 is going to do, especially with this wiring being such a mess, and you know, this motor having 230 some odd thousand miles on it. Should be okay with the mileage. These 3800s are basically unkillable. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the 3800 just holds up well. I don't know how this thing's gonna handle heat. I imagine this bumper will end up being in at some point, because I plan to use the front once the back is all used up, because that's gonna go pretty quickly because of how rotten it is back there. So we'll see how the front end holds up. I don't know how this motor is gonna hold up to heat. I imagine pretty well. I've ran these bumpers quite a few times, guys. I'm allowed to weld these bumpers on. I'm allowed to run a much beefier bumper in the front, and I'm choosing this bumper right here, and it's because I've had good luck with these bumpers. This is a Ford Freestyle front bumper. In case you guys don't know, this is a bumper off of Ford Freestyle, about the year 2005-2006 fits, and I can weld this bumper on, but I'm choosing not to, because one, the rules state that you can only use 2 inches or 4 inches of weld per side, which is a decent amount. You know, you can weld 2 inches there, an inch there, inch here, somewhere around there, and that's pretty decent, and either side. Honestly, with the way I bolted up these bumpers, which is just a, you know, bolt nut, I've never had a problem with them ripping off or anything. Usually the bumper's soft enough to bend enough to and not tear. These bumpers don't really tear too much, except when I ran the Lumina and I was going head on with a Camry. I mean, your bumper's gonna tear. And even his bumper didn't do so well. So, and he had a much beefier bumper than mine, and that was Dylan Archer. So that that bumper held up well. I mean, I've never had one of these bumpers V so far in that it destroyed my radiator. It got close, don't get me wrong. It smacked my AC condenser, and they've started to push in my radiator a little bit, but nothing so far as to, you know, go really bad. I have seen these V in before, but guys, I've been pretty happy with these bumpers, and honestly, they give so much forgiveness to these frame rails before they start really crushing the frame rails. These will crush completely flat into the frame, into these crush boxes before it starts to bend the frame pretty much. So I've been pretty happy with these bumpers. You just have to be careful, and you have to make pretty flat shots. Nothing, you know, nothing that's going to favor the middle. You want to have equal hits, just nice, whether it's head on. You don't want to hit, you know, the side. You don't want to have somebody's frame come in here and hit right in the middle, because that's going to just push that bumper in so quick. I imagine, at least what I've experienced and what I've seen with these bumpers in particular, they do take quite a bit to V in depending on the hits. If you hit with the front pretty quick and hit somebody's frame rail, you know, maybe somebody's frame rail comes in here, and maybe the other frame rail comes in right in the middle here, this bumper will V all the way in. I've seen it before on the Ford Freestyles down in actually Boonville a couple years ago. I watched one of these bumpers V all the way in. It all depends on the shots. I've just been able to basically avoid that from happening so far, and I've been pretty happy with how these bumpers have held up. So I'm just going to run one of these again, and we'll see how that holds up. I just had this one laying around. Honestly, I would have stuck another bumper on it had I not had this one laying around. So anyways, that's about it. I got some more work to do to this thing. Obviously, door plate still needs to go on. Got to change out the front tires to my Lumina tires and my Lumina rims. The aluminum rims, believe it or not, I'm going to run aluminum on this instead of steel, but these are also bald because the alignment's so far off in this car. The steering wheel is actually turned to the right, and this one's turned to the left, and I think this one's going to be facing the right. Just a little bit kicked out to the right. So yeah, this car has bad alignment for sure. So that's why the tires are so bald up front. Hopefully I don't break more studs trying to get these off. I don't know why, but these things are so freaking rusty that I broke I think 3 or 4 studs on the back here when I was trying to get this wheel off. Hopefully it doesn't do the same thing in the front. Let's see, what else do we have to do? Cut the holes for chains, you know, chain the doors shut. Not much more, you know, the shield on top of the tank. I gotta bolt down my fuse block here, and gotta secure my switches. You know, simple stuff. Nothing that would stop me from being able to make the Derby on Thursday, except for maybe that starter. I don't know. It shouldn't, but I don't really want to go about out buying a brand new starter for a 95 Regal when, you know, it's going to cost, you know, a portion of what the car does. So hopefully I'll just be able to get one at the junkyard if it comes to that. So alrighty guys, that's pretty much it for the Regal, at least for this video. I think I'll just have a day before the demo update, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully we get a pretty good run on this thing. Alrighty guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye everybody.